Okay, so today is extra special for Lisa and myself because Ning and Melissa from SPARCC are actually sitting in the audience today. Ning and Melissa, thank you for the opportunity to take this journey with you and deliver something that I hope you're proud of and affects your organization every day. With that, this might be a little different than other topics you experienced today because overall, this project was a confluence of taking something that's deeply personal and sensitive and emotional and bringing that together to create a beautiful synergy with the deployment of technology. So here is our agenda today. We're going to talk about, what was the why for the project, how we executed by first identifying our audiences, and really looking at the final product and going back to does it really accomplish what we wanted to from the why at the beginning. We're not afraid to get personal with this ourselves because that's the human component of it. So in 2005, I was the recipient of counseling from SPARCC. And if those of you who are familiar with their programs, it's in a lot of instances, some people's last bastion of hope. So coming from 2005 up into 2024, when we began working on this project, when the opportunity arose, I was like, yes, please, let me help you guys out with this. And so that was my passionate and very emotional reason for wanting to be a part of this project. And Lisa saw it from a slightly different perspective.
Yes, so when Allison brought the idea to us that we were going to be working with SPARCC for their website, I was excited because we had previously, for a couple years, been working with them on some of their mailers and things like that. So it was nice to be able to work on their website and bring that brand consistency together for them. So it was an exciting project to get to endeavor on.
Okay, so knowing what you may or may not about websites, it's a wildly intricate process. You have to conceive of who are your constituencies. You have to conceive of how is this going to be used. You have to conceive of how to get people from point A to point B the fastest, which usually can be a dispassionate project or process. But because of the, again, deeply personal and sensitive nature of the audience and the individuals that SPARCC serves, it caused us to take pause and really understand at our core, what's the why? What do we want the outcomes to be from this? So those of you who are residents of this area, and many of you who are involved in philanthropy in any way, you understand that the world of nonprofits in our little microcosm of the world is wildly complex and very competitive. And the stark reality is with nonprofit organizations, a lot of us don't know where our funding is coming from. And with some modifications that have happened governmentally over the last few years, a lot of the state and federal funding has been and still is, on unsteady ground. It's been a bit tumultuous. Is that fair to say? So with that, a lot of individuals, as they go to develop a website, they think about their donors first. That is very, very, very common. I'm sure a lot of us have seen that with websites that we may administer ourselves or engage with. So we had to really think about what it meant to pivot, a paradigm shift, and really focus on our core constituency, which are the individuals in need of our services. And I'm sorry to take such possession of this. It was very personal for us. So with SPARCC, it was really, why do they exist? And what's the most important thing they do? And we led with that. But at the same time, we always had to be considerate of the volunteers who give it all, who man those phones, who clean up grounds, who execute events, and then, of course, donors, the people who contribute their time, talent, and treasure so that we can continue to operate. And that really drove the technology of this and the messaging of this from Lisa's perspective. And then we went into how do we communicate this most effectively? And that's where Lisa really had to lead the team of copywriters and tacticians, and also her design team, to understand how do we create something that conveys the message, knowing that this was our hierarchy of audiences, and do so in a sensitive yet efficient capacity.
So overall, we wanted the site to be something warm and welcoming. We want people to feel safe there. We want them to feel like they're going to a place where they can seek the help they need, whether that's being someone who needs services, donors, or volunteers. We wanted everyone who approached the page to feel welcomed and that they are in the right place for what they need. So that was kind of our overarching thing, was that welcoming, warm, inviting feeling to make everyone feel safe.
Enhance access and efficiency. So trying to be both sides of the coin, that was our challenge. And we really wanted to shift focus, and it was dangerous, and it was a gamble, and we're happy that SPARCC trusted us to pivot from that services first mentality. And then going into the streamlined access. And we'll get a little bit more into the weeds here for the technology purposes of UI and UX and what that means. And for those of you who don't know, like cell phone companies, as they're designing your operating system, they have a team of psychologists that weigh in on that. And that's for the sake of what are people thinking when they go to this screen, and how quickly do we get them again from point A to point B. So we have to perceive this from not only the perspective of the clinical and emotional services, and making it exciting, engaging, and efficient for donors and volunteers, but also how do we make sure that we remove any obstacle for anyone, for whatever reason that we can conceive of they would be on the website. And with that, we really had to highlight the role of each page on the website, each activation link on the website for each audience that may be on the website. So here was the site when we took it over. And it was it didn't win any awards for the worst website ever by any means. It was just, it offered the opportunity to enhance its efficiency technically and its voice emotionally. So going down, I want to focus on this, the emergency exit feature. Do you know what an emergency exit feature on a website is? Okay. So there is, in the header on every page of this website, a link that says emergency exit. If you are someone who is in need of services, if you're in a dangerous situation, or if you're on a shared computer and you are personal and private and don't want people to see what's going on, you hit that emergency exit. That emergency exit pops you over to another website that is completely vanilla ice cream. The important thing about that is no one can hit the back button to figure out where you were before. It's magnificently simple, isn't it? And so that was something that was of paramount importance, testing, ensuring the efficacy of that component of the website. So really simplifying things, removing barriers, protecting the people who need that safety and security. And then also, let's not forget, we're an organization that is always needing to recruit brilliant individuals. Part of that was understanding, for people who are interested in careers, how do we showcase that? How do we demonstrate that this is a wonderful place to work with a mission that is compelling and meaningful? And so one thing that we haven't talked about in terms of our 1, 2, 3, those in need of the services, those who want to volunteer, and those who are interested in donating, we also have to have a recruiting arm as well. And so just when you think you're at the end of the list of things to do and folks to think of, in pops another element. UI, UX, user interface, user experience. How many of you have been to a website and been confused about where to go next, or got, today. So you get into that spinning wheel of, I think I'm going here, but I'm not, and it's taking me back there, and it's infuriating. And we have precious little time to capture people's attention. Be bright, be brief, be gone. Have you ever gone to a restaurant and that sign on the door says open until 9 p.m. and it's 8:45 and they're closed? Do you ever go to that restaurant again? Probably not. So your website is an extension of that. You have to serve consumers wherever they are, whenever they expect it. And there's no room for error with that. So when it comes to UI, UX, having that emergency exit feature is an important element, because we need people to know that they're in a place where they can trust it, and their risk is mitigated. From a perspective of someone wanting to find out, hey, what does this organization do? It's clearly delineated and activated with the content. So here's a very succinct understanding of what we do and what that means to you. And by the way, here's a video if you have time to watch it. And, I would be remiss if not to mention how we collaborated with Ning on this project, because she is a brilliant designer, and a lot of the graphic user interface was inspired by her vision. So we don't get that opportunity with a lot of our clients. I mean, do you want to speak about the collaboration you had with Ning on this?
It was great working with her. We really kept the conversation open, obviously keeping in mind speaking with her because she is working in the business and knows the clientele. So we always wanted to keep that communication open with her, showing her different things, kind of different site maps, and going back and forth with design features, and making sure that she knew what we were doing and that she thought it would be best as well. So.
And that's a good point that I had kind of glossed over. Every website starts with a sitemap, which is kind of your skeletal system of the website before you start, layering on all of the other pieces to flesh it out and bring it to life, so to speak. And so that UI UX phase was of paramount importance, and that's when we really dug in with the team at SPARCC. The understanding of, what obstacles do you face? What are the pain points you have? In a perfect world, what do you want this to do? And how will it function best for the people who need it? And then going into the creative elements, weaving in the mission in a way that it's so easy to want to tell your story. It's so easy to want to, this is us. This is who we are. We're proud of the work we do. And a lot of times it is difficult to flip that on its ear and position it from the lens of the people who are viewing the site. So you really have to step away from, the comedian George Carlin called it the advertiser's lullaby, the family owned and operated and blah, 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 blah. And really pouring into what we think about ourselves and fine tuning that in terms of what does that mean to you. And so that was a big part of the lens we took and had to take to execute appropriate UI UX for this website. It's not just what we love about us, which is a long darn list, but what does that mean for you, and how can we help you today, and how best can we convey that to you in a way that is meaningful and memorable, and in the most competitive industry in this town, which is the nonprofit realm. And then the contact page, really, a lot of people overlook that. You go to contact us, you might get a map, you might get a phone number, you might get an email, and then you get a form. But really, what does that mean? So words I live by, and what gets me out of bed every morning to do what I've done every day for 26 years, there's my resume, is Maya Angelou, who said, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, people will never forget how you made them feel. And so how do you take technology and make people feel something about it? And sometimes it's as simple as that contact page. Not asking for too much, offering more than they may need, but requiring really nothing. So it's one of those things that's the end of the website, the contact page, and it's just throw a form up there and be done. We were absolutely impeccable and intentional with every detail on this website, going down to even the contact page. So you might think, what's the big deal with the contact page? Well, contact page is a big deal when it comes to making people feel and want to engage. You ever get to a form on a contact and you're like, why do they need to know this? Why is this required? That's called form friction, and that will make somebody bounce off that website and not come back to your restaurant again. It's the details. The devil's in the details, and everything matters. And then the give support page, really understanding not only all that they do and how you can integrate, whether you're a legacy gift or something as simple as donating your old technology that really has no value to you anymore for a vastly dignified purpose, which is this organization takes in, by the way, if you're sitting on a box of used cell phones, here's something you can do for them rather than waiting for Manatee County's next recycling day. You can drop them off with SPARCC. If you have the charger, that's great. Wipe off all your personal stuff. They repurpose them to be emergency devices to make those 911 calls for the people who need it most in their darkest hours. So something that it was trash to us is now treasure. And clearly delineating that and getting people excited about participating in some little way, because let's face it, altruism feels good, right? Holding the door for somebody walking into 7-Eleven, it feels good, right? Especially when they thank you. So engaging people in the function of even something as simple as that, taking something you were going to throw in the garbage anyway, and knowing that it's out there for a greater purpose is why we get out of bed every day. It's why we do what we do, knowing that we can make an impact through something in technology that's a very simple message that creates memorable moments. So here she is now. And a lot of negative space, a lot of meaningful messaging integration, but most important, understanding that these individuals who need the services and their families come first. So the site is absolutely optimized, SEO advanced, it is mobile responsive, it is as secure as we can make it in a world where everybody wants to be spammy. It loads quickly, both on desktop and on mobile devices. And again, it's most importantly having an impact. Their user engagement is refined, and their ability to reach people where they are is optimized, and the clarity of the impact is enhanced. And one thing that is very, very, very important here, again, is understanding the need and recognizing that after everything is said and done, that the way people interact with the website is better than it was before and is delivering to that constituency of people who desperately and emergently need their services, because that is still number one in our heads. Lisa, is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of what you're most proud of the final product?
I think I'm just most proud of kind of the elevation we gave them. Of course, they do wonderful things, and we just want them to be seen for that. So getting them out there and having their brand out there and really shining, obviously, is what our team wants the most for our clients. So,
and one thing that I cannot impress upon you enough is the people using the website. We live in a world of keyboard warriors, right? And a lot of times, picking up a phone and connecting with a person, they have a fantastic hotline for individuals who need those services. But if you've ever been in distress, the second you hear yourself admit your vulnerability out loud, it becomes real and it becomes scary, and it puts you on shaky ground. So the opportunity for this website for people to safely, securely, confidently indicate their needs and their vulnerability from the safety and security of a keyboard makes them take that step sooner, makes them take that step with more confidence. So while they still and will always have that hotline for people to reach out to them wherever they are, as long as they have a phone, is paramount. But knowing that people feel heard, feel seen, feel secure, feel prepared to take that step without having to recognize it out loud is a game changer. And it's something very simple that we may not think of. So with that, this is the final step in what we wanted to convey to you before we go to questions. And it's really what I just said. Meeting people where they are. That's what it's all about. It's making it easy for volunteers to integrate it. Making it exciting for donors to be involved because they recognize the mission and they have a clear understanding of how they can get involved, and a form fill that's easy, or a person they can call, or an email they can reach out to and get a response right away. So in my mind, what SPARCC has allowed us to work with them on and collectively create is an ideal confluence of how you take something very personal and emotional and integrate it with technology that builds that efficiency and enables us to have those lifelong relationships through clarity of message and ease of use and positive digital engagement. That's all we have. So thank you, guys. Did you want to close anything?
We have time for questions.
Did you have communications with the people that you serve about what they needed or wanted for the website prior to redesign?
That's a good question. And as an agency partner, we did not directly, Ning may speak to that, but we absolutely had the conversation of essentially their recognition of the pain points and deficiencies of the original ecosystem and how we integrated design and technology to overcome that and create an environment where we understood their needs and met them where they were. Great question.
With a website like this where you have anonymous users, how do you benchmark, or what are your indicators for success from the two different designs as you transitioned into the second design?
Also a great question. And back in September when we were preparing for this, like Ning was delivering her first child and we're like, so can you give us some metrics about the website? And not the top priority for any of us at the time. But what we found was when people came to the website, they tended to stay longer. When people came to the website, they tended to create conversion actions, either phone calls or form fills. So the metric was that. Now, when it comes to their services, I believe they are seeing more volunteers. They're continuing to endeavor to get more private donors, and I think that's been successful because, again, like many nonprofits, some of their state and federal funding is not returning. So the combination of the website, but led by the humans within their four walls who do that engagement and development work, it is one works well with the other.
So if we wanted to help SPARCC, we could go to the webpage and make a donation. That would be one way to do it. We could also, I want to say I donate a lot of clothing, and there's a way you can take stuff to SPARCC and actually make a donation. Is that still, this was a couple of years ago, is that still viable? Or
The treasure chest? Yes.
We have a thrift store, the Treasure Chest on Fruitville Road, where we accept all clothing and household items.
yes.
Are there
so
any
let's-
tickets available for the event next week? They do a runway event next week where they're sold out. They're sold out.
Okay.
So they do an event where like all of the items that are donated to the treasure chest are displayed on a fashion show. And I go home with a lot of stuff every year.
So can you, in general, just tell people as nonprofits, how often should you update your website? Not just update your website, but refresh, get a new idea. I love that, you changed the focus because you realized it needed to be more focused on those that need it, not as much on the donors. So in your estimation, how often should nonprofits be looking at this to do this?
That's it. I'll take this one. So from how long do you keep a laptop or a cell phone? About 3 years? Okay. So websites have a little more longevity than that, but essentially technology wears out. So when it comes to maintaining your website, if from a website organizational technological level, if there's nothing else you do today other than donating a cell phone or clothes to SPARCC or SPARCC Treasure Chest, love you for bringing those two things up, you can make sure that you have the keys to the car. So if you run an organization, leave here today and put it on your to-do list to assemble a list of all of your credentials. Where is your website hosted? Can you get into your CMS, your content management system, whether that be Square or Wix or Joomla or WordPress, probably WordPress. And then your DNS, where's your email hosted? So making sure you have access to all of your digital assets. That's a fantastic first step, because you need to make sure that you are constantly updating your website. So plugins will get updated, or a new version of your hosting. Websites break consistently, just like the computer in your car will break. Just like when an OS update hits your phone, things get moved and no longer work the way they used to. Your website is no different. So having someone to monthly go in and make sure that your website is still functioning and firing on all cylinders is of paramount importance. Make sure it's SEO optimized, making sure you're adding reasonable content, and that could be topic clusters, FAQ accordions, exciting new graphic design elements that have appropriate metadata so you're appearing in search engines. That is all wildly effective and necessary. Then when it comes to a complete redesign of your website, is like worst case scenario, most of our clients, we see them do them about every 5 to 7 years. Thank you. We got the stop sign.
They did. They're the only thing standing between you and lunch. But we would like to thank them for everything that they shared. I have a gift for each of you.
Oh, thank you.